Hello, my true crime junkies, and welcome back to another lovely Murder Monday. Today, we're going to discuss unknown or uncommon fun facts about serial killers. I'm too excited, I can't wait. Without further ado, let's jump in. Pee Wee Gaskins, South Carolina's most prolific serial killer, who claimed to have killed 100 to 110 people. Gaskins drove around in a hearse with a bumper sticker that read, "I haul dead people." He used the hearse to transport his victims' bodies to his private cemetery. Talk about blending in plain sight. Ed Gein, the inspiration behind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Silence of the Lambs. When police arrived at Gein's house, they walked into an absolute pigsty. Gein had been living alone for quite some time since the death of his brother, who he is speculated to have killed, and since then has let the house fall into disrepair. There were even maggots on stacks of dirty dishes. Police found countless body parts, including a bag of wilted lady parts and the lampshade and suit made out of human skin. The mess extended all but one room, his mother's bedroom. Besides the thick layer of dust that had settled, it remained pristine out of his fear or respect for her. He reported being afraid to go in her room after she died and heard her voice criticizing him from time to time. Does that remind you of an iconic film? Hello, Psycho, or for our younger viewers, Bates Motel. That's right, the character of Norman Bates was based in part on Gein and how he kept his mother's image alive. John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown, with a victim count of at least 33 young men between 1972 and 1978. Gacy had so many bodies stashed underneath his house that in the summer heat, the bodies melted together. It took investigators 2 years to sort the bones and piece together full skeletons for victim identification. The Hillside Stranglers, aka Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Buono, two little shits that terrorized the hills of greater Los Angeles between 1977 and 1978. Bianchi and Buono picked up a young woman and intended on murdering her, just like the others, until they discovered her father was the legendary Hollywood actor Peter Lorre. Fearing the publicity surrounding the death of a celebrity's daughter, they let her go. Jeffrey Dahmer, aka Milwaukee's cannibal. Dahmer didn't eat people with tattoos because he believed the ink made flesh taste bad. Towards the end of his reign, Dahmer had so many bodies in his apartment that he ran out of room and stored a victim in a bathtub. He then proceeded to shower over him every day for a month. Not sure how you can get clean with a decomposing body at your feet. The Golden State Killer, Joseph James DeAngelo, aka the pompous a-hole, who finally got caught years overdue thanks to the popularity of the genealogy testing kits that required DNA samples. His distant relative used the kit, and police were able to match DNA found at the crime scene to build out a family tree and identify the killer. DeAngelo would attend community meetings regarding the strings of rapes and murders that he was committing. What a narcissist. A macho man stood up in the meeting and went on a rant about how a real man would never let such a thing happen to him or his wife. After that meeting concluded, DeAngelo attacked that macho man and his wife. The dating game killer, aka Rodney Alcala, who strangled 130 victims before resuscitating, raping, and killing them. Alcala went on a dating show and the woman ended up choosing him. However, luckily for her, she canceled the date because she thought he was creepy. What great intuition there. Always, always, always go with your gut. I don't even want to think about what might have happened if she went on that date. You can actually find the clip from the dating show online and I highly recommend it. It's so spooky. The Green River Killer, or Gary Ridgway, got his name after his first 5 victims were found in the Green River. He was convicted of 49 murders and confessed to 71. He took jewelry from his victims and left the pieces in the ladies' restroom at his work. He was thrilled when he saw his colleagues wearing the jewelry around the office. Butcher Baker, or Robert Hansen, killed at least 17 women in Anchorage, Alaska. Hansen was hunting his victims for sport. He would kidnap his victims and then set them loose in the Alaskan wilderness. He would then hunt them down like animals with his mini Ruger and knife. The man that became known as BTK, standing for Bind, Torture, Kill, due to his method of murder, or Dennis Radar, worked at ADT Security Systems from 1974 to 1988, where he was responsible for installing security alarms. That means that the BTK killer supposedly installed alarms for new customers that bought ADT's service out of fear of BTK. BTK is someone that really disturbs me. Having read about his crimes and watched his affect in court, it triggers an intense emotional response of anger and disgust. True crime junkies, I have a confession. Sometimes I'm too sensitive for true crime. Who can relate? Ed Kemper, the co-ed killer, and the main criminal featured on Netflix drama crime show Mindhunter. Kemper became a coordinator of his prison's program, informally called the Blind Project, where inmates would narrate books for the visually impaired. Kemper read several hundred books, including Star Wars, The Glass Key, Petals on the Wind, Flowers in the Attic, Merlin's Mirror, and The Rosemary Murders. Flowers in the Attic, I watched that movie as a child and it disturbed me. I was so terrified of that grandma. Definitely recommend it. Kemper also apparently had an extremely high IQ, which was present in the show. They represented that really well. And apparently, in the end, he wanted to be caught. He knew what he was doing was morally wrong, despite his lack of empathy, or despite feeling bad for doing wrong. In court, a lawyer asked him what he felt was a just punishment for what he'd done. He responded, death by torture. To this day, he declines to attend parole hearings and has repeatedly asserted that people like him do not belong in society. He's considered to be a model inmate. Ted Bundy, perhaps one of the most famous serial killers that the handsome Zac Efron just portrayed in Netflix's extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile documentary. In his truly arrogant style, Bundy declined his last meal. The title of Netflix series, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, is actually from a direct quote from the judge that oversaw the proceedings regarding Bundy's crimes. Bundy also helped in the investigation of the Green River Killer and made a psychological profile which ended up being closer to the Green River Killer than the FBI's projections. This also was a basis for Silence of the Lambs, having Hannibal Lecter help the FBI solve a crime. Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, burglarized homes and killed 13 people supposedly in the name of Satan. He would only enter a home if the door was unlocked, otherwise he didn't feel welcome. Moral of the story, lock your doors. The Zodiac Killer terrorized California in the late 60s to early 70s. With a combination of grisly murders and bizarre public letters brimming with threats, demands, and mysterious ciphers teasing his identity. The Zodiac Killer has never been found. Police did come close. They had a number one suspect, Arthur Lee Allen. However, they were never able to pin him with their circumstantial evidence, which included he lived in Vallejo, near where a couple of murders occurred. He took a sick day off of work after one of the murders happened. His mother gave him a zodiac watch for Christmas, which had the same symbols used in the killer's letters. He was intelligent and understood how to plant false evidence through his knowledge of fingerprints and DNA. Before the murders took place, he spoke with a friend about writing a novel centered on a man named Zodiac, who killed couples at random with a gun and an attached torch, and who also sent letters to taunt the police. He told the police that he was going to Lake Berryessa on the day where one of his murders occurred. But he went to the coast instead, therefore lying about his whereabouts. He admitted to having bloody knives in his car the day of that murder of Berryessa, which he claimed to be chicken blood. A bloody footprint at one of the crime scene matched his shoe size. The shoe was also identified as a Wing Walker military boot. He previously served in the military. A surviving victim picked his face out of a police lineup in 1991. He was arrested in 1974 for the child molestation and was released in 1977. During that time, the police received no Zodiac letters. He wanted to be a bouncer at his friend's nightclub, but his friend wouldn't allow it. To deal with this rejection, he told his friend that he would go to San Francisco to kill a cabbie. That night, Paul Steen, a cab driver, was shot point blank in the head. Multiple search warrants were issued against Allen in the early 90s. The searches found bombs that were identical to those in the Zodiac letters. An unidentified man named Lee was also known to associate with one of the victims, and Allen always went by his middle name, which was also Lee. Allen died in 1992, a month before he was supposed to meet investigators about the case. That's crazy! How were they not able to pin him? I don't understand how the justice system works sometimes. Anywho, that is your true crime fix for this lovely Murder Monday. Be sure to tune in on Thursday and Saturday. Peace, love, and light.